Hi, April Elliott Kent here of Big Sky Astrology. Sometimes I hear from readers and they're a little confused because they're trying to figure out how to find out where a transit or a new moon point or a solar eclipse point or any of these things falls in their particular birth chart. So today I just wanted to take a couple of minutes, back up a little bit, and show you how that works. So I think the basic misunderstanding often is a difference between signs and houses. So really when you're looking at a birth chart, you're kind of looking at two wheels. Normally you get one that just looks like a single wheel. I'll show you an example here. Let's say this one. Nice simple wheel. But really what's going on is when you look at any birth chart, right down here, is a wheel within a wheel. So there's this wheel of the zodiac around us in the heavens. Think of it as a band of fixed stars that are all around us in a 360-degree circle. And there are 12 signs. And each sign is the same size. It's 30 degrees. Take the 360-degree wheel divided by 12. Sorry to make you do math. And you come up with 30 degrees. And each sign of the zodiac has 30 degrees. And these degrees are numbered from 0 to 29, which is a little confusing. They don't begin at 1 and end at 30. They begin at 0 and end at 29. And within each degree is 60 minutes, sort of like an hour has 60 minutes. Now, your birth chart, think of it as a wheel that's spinning within this other zodiac wheel. Your birth chart wheel also has 360 degrees. And not every one of these degrees is always marked on the chart, but they are all there. Your birth chart's divided into 12 houses, divided by cusps, and that's what these little lines are. This is sort of the equivalent of the zodiac being split into 12 signs, but with one very significant difference, which is signs are all the same size, houses are not necessarily. So the houses of your chart are numbered counterclockwise, beginning with the house on the left. And this was super confusing for me when I was starting out in astrology, trying to figure out how they numbered these things. But you start over here with the house on the left. This is the first house cusp. This is the second house cusp. So everything between the first and second house cusps is the first house. Everything between the second house cusp and the third house cusp is the second house, and so on, and going counterclockwise through the chart. Now, as I said before, the houses of the chart usually vary in size. This has to do with what latitude you're born at, and it also has to do with the house system that's used to split up the chart. If you look up in the night sky, you will not see little lines like this, separating the sky into 12 sections. This is something that, astrologers come up with. They mathematically derive them. So there are all kinds of different ways you can split up this wheel. So what happened when you were born was sort of this little spinning wheel of your chart, spinning within the outer wheel of the zodiac, stopped. And each one of its spokes, these little house cusps, stopped, pointing at a particular degree of a sign. So, for instance, when Drew Barrymore was born, the first house cusp stopped, pointed at the 19th degree of Gemini. Now, what this means is anything between 19 degrees of Gemini and 29 degrees of Gemini falls in the first house. Anything that falls between 0 degrees of Gemini and 19 degrees of Gemini falls in the previous house, the 12th. So the lunar eclipse that we have in December of 2011 that's at 18 degrees of Gemini falls in the 12th house of her chart right before the ascendant at 19. So if we're trying to find The solar eclipse on November 24th, 2011, which falls at 2 degrees and 37 minutes of Sagittarius, and we want to find where this is going to fall in her chart. First thing we do is find the symbol for Sagittarius. It's not always going to show up on a house cusp, but usually it will. And over here we find it, this little arrow looking guy, and it's on the cusp of the 7th house. Now, if you don't have Sagittarius on a house cusp, what you do is you can usually find a house that has Scorpio on the cusp and a house then that has Capricorn on the cusp. And you'll know that all 30 degrees of Sagittarius are in the house between those two cusps. This is called an interception. But in this case, we have 19 degrees of Sagittarius on the 7th house cusp. Now, the solar eclipse is at 2 degrees near enough of Sagittarius. So where's it going to fall? Well, we know that everything that falls between 0 degrees of Sagittarius and 19 degrees of Sagittarius falls down in this house, in the 6th house. And here we see her north node at 5 degrees of Sagittarius, Neptune at 11 degrees of Sagittarius. And this indicates, this little line here indicates 0 degrees of Sagittarius. That's the 1st degree, and that's the 2nd degree. So right around here, pretty close to the north node of the moon, the solar eclipse will fall in her chart. So really, that's all there is to it. You do have to be familiar with the glyphs for the different signs. And you do have to understand that houses are counted counterclockwise, beginning with the one on the far left here. 1, 2, 3, and so forth. And really, that's all there is to it.